Thank you for joining us for today's PPCC 26 workshop preview. I'm Lyman Goodrich, and I'm your host for today's session. PPCC 26 takes place October 27th through 29th in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand, with full-day workshops presented on Sunday the 25th, Monday the 26th, and Friday the 30th. This preview series is designed to give you a sneak peek into the workshop content you'll experience at PPC 26, presented by the same speakers you'll meet in person in Las Vegas. Today's webinar is being recorded and you'll be available for you to watch or share with others on the workshop's detail page on the PPCC 26 website. If you haven't registered yet, stay tuned to the end of the workshop, and we'll give you information on how to save $150 off your registration with using a speaker discount code. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Shane Young.
Well, hello, and thank you for that lovely introduction, Lyman. You guys, you really missed the fun parts, right, where Lyman and I talked before the show, but we can't go back into that. So my job today is to talk to all of you about the lovely workshop we're going to have. And I'll be honest, right, it's a workshop that's very different than most workshops in that I'm going to put on my, my brave pants, and I show up, and we're going to start with nothing. And we're just going to build an entire solution over the course of the day together. All right, like, well, we do that in a lot of workshops. How's yours different? How mine is different is I've never built the solution before. I don't have a full-on, like, step-by-step plan of what we're going to do. Instead, what we're going to do as a group is we're going to talk through what we want to do. And, we have a pretty good idea, right? We're going to start on the idea of building an operations system, right? So something to track, like, projects and tasks and completion and the work around that. So we have a genre of the app we're going to build, but we're going to talk through, okay, if we're going to build that, then what information do we need to collect to facilitate this process? And so we'll just say, okay, well, I think maybe we want to do, I don't know, what are we going to do? We'll do like projects. And then for the projects, we'll have tasks. Maybe we want to assign people to those tasks. Maybe we'll have teams for those people to also be assigned with, right? But we'll kind of work through the story of what we want the data to be, and then we'll go build it. And so we'll go build that over in Dataverse. And part of the fun of all of this, right, is we're going through and we're building all this together. We're going to walk through the different pieces. But part of the fun is the fact that we don't have a script and we have to adapt, right? Like, as we go throughout the day, as we do the different pieces of the puzzle, we're going to see, like, oh, well, we came up with this thing. Let's solve this problem. Oh, this isn't working the way we want. Let's solve this problem, right? It's not as much about the actual solution we're going to build, right? Like, it could be any type of business problem where we have some type of parent-child data relationship model that we have to solve for. It's about the mechanics. It's about the process. It's about seeing, like, how me, the guy who's been building Power Apps, I don't know, for 8+ years now and has built literally thousands of them, how I go through the process based on the requirements that we as a group are going to kind of work out throughout the day. So we'll get the data stood up. Now that we've got the data, we're going to be like, all right, well, so let's say we decided that we want to do the whole projects and tasks for those projects, and we want to have teams assigned to those. So then maybe what we'll do is we'll jump over into model-driven apps, and we're going to then build ourselves out a very simple model-driven app that allows us to, manage the teams. And one of the reasons we're going to do this, right, and as we go throughout the day, we're going to have different pieces of tech involved, right? So we're going to use model-driven apps. We're going to use Canvas apps. We're going to use Vibe apps. We're going to use Power Automate. We're going to use GitHub Copilot, right? We're going to bring in a lot of different tools into the equation, because I don't want you to think about just building this solution with one lens, right? Like, people that only know Canvas apps, right? The whole, you got to hammer everything looks like a nail. They just want to build the whole thing in Canvas apps. We could, but we're going to build this one to be multifaceted, pulling in all the different tech so we can see how it relates into a single solution. So we're going to build the model-driven app. And let's see, let's switch over to my desktop here and we will look at this for a second. And so for example, in the model-driven app, which I think is right here, we're going to, have it a couple different ways, right? We'll start with a simple, right? We're going to have that teams table with the columns that we just added. We'll throw some data in here, right? Very easy, very quick, not a lot of customization. But then to stretch the boundaries a little bit, we're going to click over here and we're going to end up doing something like doing a generative page, right? So if you're not familiar with generative pages, it'll be a chance to understand how they fit into your model-driven app story. But basically, this is a page that we're going to build using, right, the same model-driven interface inside our model-driven app, but it is going to be vibe coded, right? This is all written in React, and model-driven apps support doing that. Now, I should point out here that, like, I'm demoing this. You're like, well, Shane, you said you haven't built it. This is a previous project that I've done that's been kind of the same type of thing, but this is just an example of what we're going to do. This is not what we're actually going to build, right? Think about the visuals. Okay, but so there you go. We're going to incorporate a model-driven app to drive the teams potentially. Then we're going to be like, all right, well, that's cool. Now we need to, kind of build a fancier, nicer interactive experience for managing the projects and the task. So then we'll jump to Canvas apps, right? Because Canvas apps still give us that great pixel perfect control where we can go design and, and really connect all the dots. And truth be told, the Canvas app section is the largest portion of the day. That's where we'll really get in there and do it and use it and see how we can do it. Because when we build the Canvas app, we're going to get to kind of solve several different problems. For example, if you've ever seen one of the apps I build, on YouTube, right? I'm typically known for building ugly apps. It's a fact. When I build these ugly apps, people sometimes discount them. They're mechanically sound, but they're not pretty. So we're going to talk about here how I use a combination of Canva and Copilot to help me design and come up with a look and feel for this page that is not so ugly, right? Like you can kind of see, it's probably hard to see on the thing here, but I got a nice little background image of inventory. I got this modern design here, right? It feels a little bit nicer than I typically do. And so we'll talk about how I use some extra tools to augment what we build here. Then once we've built the home screen, we're going to have a second screen for managing, let's say, the projects. I don't know. It's all very flexible, so we'll see what we do. But on that one, we're going to build everything using model-driven apps. Or not model-driven apps. Shane, come on. You do it all with galleries and forms. Why? Because, in Canvas apps, there's a lot of different ways to build things. And so we want to look at one screen that is all gallery and forms because that's the simplest way to go. So especially if you're newer to Canvas apps, you're like, oh, this makes real sense, right? We connect, boom, 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 it works, right? So we'll build part of the management interfaces in a form-driven solution, very straightforward, very clean, very easy to do. But then we're gonna be all right, well, now that we got that, let's build the second section of management. So maybe the task, we'll do that with individual controls and the patch function. And that gives us a way to kind of compare and contrast, right? Now we have seen like, hey, here's how you build a data experience in model-driven apps. Here's a data-driven experience in gallery and form. And now here it is using individual controls and patch, right? So you kind of get to see the different progressions and options. And in reality, you would probably never really build your solution with all three of those in there, but now you're getting exposed to all of them so we can talk about the pros and the cons with real life examples as we do it, right? Because once again, this whole day, this whole workshop is about the building experience, the processes, the tools, how we work through it in the real world, not whatever we end up spitting out the other side. Okay, so there you go. We're going to work our way through the Canvas app doing all of that. Along the way, we'll probably pull in some additional tools. We'll probably get some help from AI. And so to that end, remember, it's August. PPC is in October, leading up to Halloween. And so part of that is there's probably going to be 12 new things that come out between now and then, right? So this is another beautiful thing of us not having a predefined, we are going to build exactly this in this method. If new tools and such come out that make this better, easier, faster, integrate new things, we're going to be able to pull those in on the fly and show you how those change the building experience. For example, another piece that we're going to do in here that has recently changed my building experience. Microsoft released an MCP server for Canvas apps, right? If you don't know what that is, it's okay. It's some AI stuff, right? An AI way to talk to a Canvas app. So we're going to, when we get done with this Canvas app, we're going to open up VS Code, right? This little puppy right here, or we'll use the GitHub app. We'll use one of them. And we're going to basically use that MCP server and say something to the effect of, let's see if I can find where I told it to do it. Maybe not. There you go. I basically asked it to bug check my app, right? And so I said, here's my app. Let's run a bug check against this. And it basically comes back and says, hey, Shane, here's all the thinking. Your scan button actually made 2 calls. I did not do that on purpose. I messed up this demo when I made it for YouTube. Oops, my scan button runs twice. Oh, we got to fix that. Here's some performance challenges. Here's some UX experience things you could do better. Your delete icon doesn't have a confirmation prompt. So anyway, we're going to use this tool to audit whatever we build that day so that we can see how, even if you're not ready to start building with AI tools, maybe the entry point for you there is to start using these AI tools to help you, consider it like an architect review of your app. So you can make sure that what you're building is functionally sound, performance sound, and there's no easy wins in there. So yeah, we're going to do that. Now that we've gotten through all that, we're going to say, hey, this thing should probably have a Power Automate Cloudflow. What's that Cloudflow going to do? I don't know. We'll figure it out together, right? Maybe it's going to make a PDF. Maybe it's going to send off approvals in Teams. Maybe it's going to interact with an API. The world is our oyster, but the key there is we want to talk about things that would be better served in Power Automate, and then how to get those connected into our story here. But wait, there's more. So then after we finish that, and this is what literally happened to me the last time I taught this this style of open-ended class, got to like the last 30 minutes of class and somebody's like, wait a minute, you didn't add any reporting to your app. And I'm like, oh, I hope you wouldn't notice, right? And they were immediately thinking, well, go open up Power BI and build some Power BI stuff. Truth be told, Shane is not awesome at Power BI. It's not my forte, never has been. I work with some really great people at Power BI. I let them do it. So what did I do? I said, okay, you want reporting? I can do reporting. I jumped over to vibe.powerapps.com, connected it to that same data, and built a dashboard in literally 5 minutes, right? And I did that through a prompt. I'm like, hey, here's the data for our inventory control system. Boom, 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 boom. Gave it the Dataverse tables. Build me a real-time inventory control dashboard and highlight, focus on weekly activity or something like that. I gave it a prompt like that. And then literally 5 minutes later, it had built this dashboard all inside of the safety of the Power Platform, right? This isn't some third-party API tool this is not some third-party AI tool. This is not getting outside my safety bubble, right? This is building a Power Apps code app, which is another piece of the Power Apps puzzle. And it is letting us bolt this in, and add it in. So now it is built on top of the same data, but I couldn't have done this in 10 minutes in Power BI, even if I was awesome at Power BI. So very powerful tool there that we'll make sure we introduce as well. Who knows? Maybe if we have time, we'll be like, hey, what if we built a Copilot Studio agent to interact with this data? Why not, right? The idea, though, of the day, once again, right, is it's about the journey. We're going to start from nothing. We're going to build. We're going to talk. I'm going to pull the audience at different points. Like, hey, what should we do here? What weird curveball should we throw ourselves? Right? Which is really what happens in the real building experience. And that's going to give us the chance to just see how this all works without, in the real world, right? Like, because, when you're building at your desk by yourself, it doesn't all just go smoothly. Something's going to go wrong. You can write it down right now, right? I don't know if this is what you're supposed to tell people going into a workshop, but somewhere along the way during the day, something's going to go really bad. I'm going to get really angry and frustrated. And that's okay, because we're all going to figure out how I calm down. Woosah, right? But how I calm down and how we get through the problem, how we solve that in a way, right? Because that's the reality. And that's the idea. This workshop is meant to be very practical, very real life, not a bunch of fancy canned demos. So that's what I've got for you guys. I hope that you are excited to join this. We've done different versions of this over the years. They've always been very well received. So, hopefully you help me, sign up for this workshop. A couple of those years, I was the first one to sell out. I always wear that with a, a mantle of pride. So if you could, help me out registering for my workshop and making me the first one to sell out, I would totally appreciate that. And yeah, I think with that, Lyman, I'm going to throw it back over to you, and you can tell all these people that no, Shane will do a good job. He's not going to make any mistakes. It'll be great.
Yeah, really, truly, don't let that preview throw you a curveball. No. Thanks, Shane, for that preview. Shane's always a superstar at these events. The sort of off-the-cuff connection that he has, that's very spontaneous and very improvised, with his vast history of experience, can truly wrap around each individual concern or question that you bring to the workshop. And it's very much an interactive and there to help answer the questions that you have. As it's not pre-built, it's sort of happening as you move along. So thank you so much for that, Shane. That's awesome. We hope that this gave you an insight into what you'll experience at Shane's full-day workshop at PPCC 26. Oh, and if you're interested in the other workshop previews, of course you are. Check the link down below. It's running very slow, so you can type that down or take a screenshot so that you can head over there to see what other previews we'll be offering for PPCC 26. If you haven't registered yet, there's still time to join us in Las Vegas. When you register, simply use the speaker discount code, ta-da, and you'll save $150 off your conference registration. Now, join us in Las Vegas, connect with thousands upon thousands of Microsoft technology professionals from around the world. You'll learn directly from Microsoft's engineering and product teams, as well as some of the most respected experts, like Shane, from the global Microsoft technology community. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great day, and see you in Las Vegas.
Come join me.